Somewhere in a basement or a garage right now, there's a washing machine that's been running since Nixon was in office. It's not fancy. It doesn't have a touch screen. It doesn't connect to Wi-Fi. It just works, spin after spin, decade after decade, while the fancy new machine down the street from 3 years ago is already sitting on the curb waiting for the junk truck. That's not a coincidence, and it's not bad luck. It's the story of what happened to the American appliance, and once you understand it, you'll never look at your kitchen the same way again. Let's start with the numbers, because they tell a story all on their own. A washing machine built a few decades ago could reasonably be expected to run for around 19 years. Today, that same machine is lucky to make it to 10 or 11. That's a drop of nearly 45%, cut almost in half in the span of a single generation. Ovens tell a similar tale, with lifespans falling by nearly 40%. And it isn't just about how long these machines eventually die. It's about how much they break down while they're still supposedly healthy. Industry surveys have found an average of 69 problems for every 100 units within just the first 3 years of ownership. 3 years. That's not old age failing gracefully. That's brand new machines falling apart while the paint is still fresh on the walls around them. So what happened? Why did something as simple as washing your clothes or baking a casserole turn into a gamble? The answer starts with what these machines are actually made of. Walk into any appliance store from the middle of the last century, at least on paper, and you'd find machines built from heavy-gauge steel, thick enough to survive a fall down a flight of stairs. The drums were metal. The frames were metal. If something broke, a repairman could open it up, replace a single part, and send you on your way for another 20 years. Today, that same machine is filled with plastic. The door seals aren't stitched or fastened, they're glued. And instead of individual components you can swap out one at a time, you've got single-unit circuit boards, meaning if one tiny piece fails, the entire board goes with it. It's not a repair anymore. It's a replacement. And that changes everything about how these machines are designed to live and die. Then there's the complexity trap, and this one's sneaky because it's marketed to us as progress. Modern appliances aren't just machines anymore, they're computers wearing an appliance costume. Circuit boards, sensors, touch screens, Wi-Fi modules, apps that let you start your dryer from your phone while you're stuck in traffic. It sounds impressive in a showroom. But every one of those features is another thing that can fail, and the numbers back this up in a way that should make anyone pause before buying the smart version of anything. While standard appliances already show an unsettling failure rate, smart appliances loaded up with all those extra bells and whistles show an average of 87 to 92 problems per 100 units. Nearly 1 out of every one of them has something wrong with it, and it's not because people are washing their clothes wrong. It's because we replaced simple, durable mechanical parts with fragile electronics that were never built to last 2 decades in a humid laundry room or next to a hot oven. And here's where it gets a little uncomfortable, because it's not just bad engineering, it's bad business, working exactly the way it was designed to. Think about the warranty on your last major appliance purchase. Chances are it covered you for 1 to 2 years, just long enough to get you past the return window and comfortably into "that's not our problem anymore" territory. And when something does break after that window closes, good luck finding an affordable fix. Repair labor now runs anywhere from $50 to $125 an hour, and that's before you even pay for the part. Speaking of parts, manufacturers redesign their internal components so frequently that the piece you need might already be discontinued by the time your machine breaks down. You're not just paying more to repair something, you're often finding out repair simply isn't an option anymore. All of this points to something economists have a name for: planned obsolescence. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's a business model, and it's been documented for decades. A company that builds a washing machine meant to last 40 years sells you exactly one washing machine across your entire adult life. A company that builds one meant to last 10 years sells you 4. From a pure quarterly earnings perspective, the second company looks a whole lot more successful, even though the product itself is objectively worse for the person who bought it. Somewhere along the way, the goal shifted from building something that lasts to building something that sells again, and again, and again. Now, not every brand plays this game the same way, and if you're in the market for something new, this next part matters. Some of today's biggest, flashiest names carry some of the worst failure rates on the market. Samsung sees roughly a 33% failure rate within 5 years. LG isn't far behind at 30%. KitchenAid comes in around 28%. And the complaints tend to cluster around the same weak points: ice makers that quit, compressors that fail, and electronic control boards that short out just outside the warranty window. Meanwhile, a handful of brands are quietly doing things the old-fashioned way, and it shows. Speed Queen sits under a 10% service rate, largely because they've stuck with simple mechanical controls instead of chasing every digital trend. Miele, Bosch, and GE Profile also tend to outperform the flashier competition, proving that reliability and simplicity still go hand in hand, even in today's market. So where does that leave the average person standing in an appliance showroom, staring at rows of machines that all look impressive and all come with a salesperson telling them this one has the best new features? Here's the good news. You don't need to become an engineer to protect yourself, you just need to know what questions to ask and what to walk right past. First, resist the feature creep. That touchscreen, that Wi-Fi connectivity, that app that lets you check your dishwasher from the grocery store, none of it makes your appliance clean better or run longer. It just adds more components that can eventually fail. A simpler, mechanical model with dials instead of digital displays is almost always the more dependable choice, even if it feels a little less exciting on the showroom floor. Second, if you're in the market for a refrigerator, consider going back to basics with a top freezer model. They're mechanically simpler than the sleek French door refrigerators everyone seems to want these days, and that simplicity pays off, with roughly 40% lower failure rates. Sometimes the less glamorous option is the smarter one. Third, keep what's known as the 50% rule in your back pocket. If a repair estimate comes in at more than half the cost of buying a new, simpler replacement, it's usually time to cut your losses rather than throw good money after bad. It's not always fun to hear, but it can save you from sinking hundreds of dollars into a machine that's only going to fail again in another year anyway. And finally, don't underestimate basic maintenance. Cleaning the coils on your refrigerator, clearing out the lint and filters on your dryer, and replacing water supply hoses every 5 years or so might sound like small, boring chores. But that kind of regular upkeep can extend the working life of your appliances by roughly 25%. It's the same principle that kept those old machines running for decades in the first place: care and attention, rather than simply waiting for something to break. There's something a little bittersweet about all of this. Somewhere out there, a machine from decades ago is still humming along in a basement, built by people who assumed it needed to survive marriages, moves, kids growing up and leaving home, maybe even getting passed down to the next generation. Today's machines are built with a very different assumption in mind: that you'll be back in a showroom sooner rather than later. But armed with the right knowledge, you don't have to play along with that plan. Choose simplicity over spectacle, ask the right questions before you buy, and take care of what you already own. Because sometimes the smartest appliance you can buy is the one that isn't trying to be smart at all.